Like to do is, first of all, have our guests stand up and tell us their name. Okay, can our guests do that? And if you're a female, you are a guest.
Bernie Miller.
Charles Middleburg.
Howard Simon.
Howard, okay.
Kate Weisenstein.
Tanya Sokolov.
Hi, Tanya.
Harry Rosenberg.
Thank you. And we have at least one new member starting today. And can you identify yourself? And I don't see you.
Charlie.
All right.
Take 2 minutes to tell people about yourself.
Tell about myself.
A 1-minute summary of the last 65 years.
I'm a Holocaust survivor.
Holocaust survivor. Wow.
I lived in France during the Nazi occupation. I came to the United States in 1950. I don't know what else to say. I got 4 children. Every one of them married. I got 12 grandchildren.
Oh, love you.
I think that's about all I can
What was
do.
your job and what are your hobbies?
I'm sorry.
What was your job and what are your hobbies?
My job was varied. I graduated from Temple University School of Engineering, electrical engineering. But then I just changed career and I wind up in Schmuckers. So I just retired 2 years ago.
That's great.
So I don't know what else to say.
Just thank you. Thank you and welcome. We have a few people that want to say hello just before we get to the speaker. Dave Wynn.
Hi. I'm involved with a lot of activities at the Active Adults Program. Charles Middleburg also is involved. By the way, we were outside with the yellow candles when you gave the presentation. You gave the presentation at the Yom Shoah ceremony this year. Anyway, one of the many things I'm involved in is the Arts, Books, and Cultural Festival. We found that many of the good authors, interesting authors, are not available at the 1 week we set aside for it. So we now have them coming in over the course of a year. We have 2 people coming. I'm going to give you this for this month and give you the next one for next month. 2 people coming that hopefully will get a nice attendance for. I have this. I'm going to leave it on the table over there. Please take one if you're all interested. The speaker is Steve Gutenberg, who's been in police stories and a lot of those funny Hollywood movies. He wrote a memoir that's supposed to be very, very funny.
Wasn't he in Ghostbusters?
He might have been. I'm not sure all the movies that he's been in.
Police Academy.
Police Academy, right?
Police Academy. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, maybe Joseph Ivan was that too, I don't know. But basically, he is supposed to be a very funny guy in the movies. Supposedly, he also wrote a very funny memoir, and we think it's going to be very interesting. Now, there's $10 tickets to hear him speak, and which can then be used if you want to buy his book, the whole $10. If you want to go to reception, there's also a reception for him. That's $50. It's a little bit pricey, but hopefully we have people going to at least hear him speak. I have the flyers. They're both thick and white. I'm going to leave them over there on the table. Hopefully people can take them and come to that meeting. Oh, one other thing before we go. Today, right this very minute, our softball team is in the B Division JAG playoffs. And hopefully they're doing fine. I'm wearing a shirt because from here I'm going to go out to the game.
Dave, stay, because you are our model. Those shirts are available. And they are going very slowly. But they are available. This is the new wiggle weight technology, right? But they are available for $20 cheap for anybody who wants one. I have him right here. Okay. Ned Bulmish. Where's Ned? There you are. Come over here, Ned. Your voice doesn't carry as well as Dave's big mouth.
Good morning. I was anointed the president of the senior men's club of the JCC club. And I encourage you to join if you're a JCC member. They have a monthly breakfast. It's $2. It's a month. And interesting speakers and different sorts of activities. I have, before you leave, if you're a JCC member, let me know and I'll contact you. Thanks.
Thanks. Rich Moskowitz.
Good morning. We're in the process of planning a couple of group outings, hopefully. One of the outings, which I think is going to be pretty neat, is at the Franklin Institute. There's the Dead Sea Scrolls, Life and Faith in Ancient Times. A lot of people have shown interest in it, so I think maybe that would be a nice men's club outing. So what I'm going to do is pass around a sheet, write your name, email, telephone number, and either day of the month, because this is through October, so we have plenty of time to plan this. But when you feel you'd be like to go, and we'll get it all together and get a date together. And with group rates, and I have a discount coupon from the JCC that we can get even cheaper tickets. So I'll pass that around. That's the first thing for the Dead Sea Scrolls. And secondly, this summer, I'd like to, a couple years ago, we had a trip to the Camden, believe it or not, Camden River Sharks. And we had a pretty good turnout for a game there. So I'd like to do that again. Tickets usually run about $10, $11, something like that. Same thing, put your name, email down, and either weekday, Saturday, or Sunday when you'd prefer to go, and we can start arranging that, and I'll pass that around. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We did have 30 people at our comedy club outing. And thanks to Ed Stein for organizing the comedy club outing. I'll keep going. Ed Silver. And you just have to work your way around Mr. Barsky here.
Good morning. I thought I was the only one that doesn't read emails. We sent out an email regarding the Yellow Ribbon Club. If you recall, 2 months ago we had a military gentleman back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and we had a member of the Yellow Ribbon Club presenting. And if you recall, the Yellow Ribbon Club is taking donations to send to the troops overseas. And we're asking for donations. One person did bring a bag of goodies. The goodies could be anything from sunglasses to eye drops to pens and pencils and notepads, chewing gum, anything that the troops would enjoy. What they really enjoy is getting something from us to be remembered. So in the future meetings, we'll send out another email. If you can bring some donations, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members that wants to promote the latest goings-on of the South Jersey Men's Club? If not, I'd like to bring up Mike Perloff to introduce our guest speaker.
Thanks, Jerry. As you know, there's a few things that have been happening in the Middle East that's somewhat newsworthy. Depending on your vision of reality, it's either the Arab Spring or the Arab Winter. It's either the rise of democracy or the revolution of the Muslim Brotherhood. And in Israel, it's unbelievable. Can you imagine? Can you even for a moment imagine that this country would be getting in a week 80, 90, 100 missiles and rockets and mortars shot at it, and cross-border attacks on civilians, and we wouldn't go to war? And yet this happens. Perhaps it could even be as we speak in Israel. It's a challenge in this world to be able to represent Israel when it seems at times that for too many, there is nothing Israel can do right. that there's different standards, that people really don't care about the facts if it doesn't conform with their preconceptions. And it's up to spokesmen, professional spokesmen from the Department of Foreign Ministry throughout the world to represent Israel officially. I was at a meeting last week, and a person said in their introduction that generally people who know don't speak, and people who speak generally don't know. And yet today we're privileged to have a man I consider one of the representatives of Israel whom I have a great deal of confidence in his ability and his actions to both speak and know. And I'd like to introduce our friend, soon to leave the country, to return to Israel, Danny Kutner, Consul General.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here at the Men's Club, and I'm glad to see that also the ladies are very well represented. It's people that wake up to be at 9 o'clock on a Sunday. It's that in itself is a show of utmost commitment. So I commend you all for your dedication. I would like to share with you some overview of how I see the situation in our area, and then I will be glad to answer questions on those subjects or others which I didn't cover. But first of all, I was asked to say a few words about what we do. As you know, State of Israel has in the United States one embassy, actually two embassies, one in Washington and one in New York to the United Nations, the permanent mission to the United Nations, and it has 9 consulates, as if we were, a great power like Britain or France. And that's the reasons, them very well. America is not just a matter of foreign policy for us; it's a vital ally, and that's where the other half of the Jewish people actually live. Today, I think already more than half of the Jewish people live in Israel, but of course, the United States is the other greatest Jewish community. And because of the essential interest of Israel in maintaining this friendship is that we have 9 consulates. And our consulates not only deal with issues of visas and certification of documents for Israelis and others who need them. Our consulates our mission is to make friends for Israel and influence people. And we do that by trying to work on different levels. We, first of all, our utmost mission is to be a bridge, ambassadors to the Jewish communities in the United States, and then to bring Israel to the wider community through cultural activities, bring Israeli culture to the US so people will know us better. If we were a normal country, not in war, probably 90% of our work would be bringing Israeli culture, like the French do or the British Council. But we're not, so we have to do other things. We work on reaching out to leaderships of all kinds, including community leadership, religious leadership, Latinos, African Americans, every community that has influence We want to be in a dialogue with them. We want them to know our story. On all these subjects, of course, we ally with our friends of the Jewish community, many of which have also the same goals. We develop a relationship with the press, the electronic one, the printed one. People of our age group still read newspapers, but some others do not anymore. So we have developed in the last couple of years a strong presence also in the digital world through all the new social media outlets, from Facebook and Twitter and others. Of course, we have to have a special under 30 person in the consulate to do that. And of course, governmental affairs. We not only support Washington's work vis-a-vis the political leadership and the Congress, but also we try to develop a relationship also with the leadership at state level, at local level, on their own right, but also because it's very often a springboard for national tasks or jobs, and we want to be there when they are young and accessible. In addition to that, we try to develop economic relations between the different regions and Israel. This is a new dimension that, let's say, 20 years ago we almost didn't have. I was just saying that Pennsylvania imports more than $4 billion of Israeli products, mainly Teva pharmaceuticals, but also other stuff, and exports about 200 million to Israel. A lot of that is defense related. So there is that dimension which we try to develop too in this area through the America-Israel Chamber of Commerce, which is an institution which I invite you to learn more about and see if it wouldn't suit your interest also to become a member, the America-Israel Chamber of Commerce. So this is what we do. We are a small and lean operation here. We are 2 diplomats and a dozen other staff of all kinds. We are what we call a small consulate. Not less important because of that, but we want to give our Israeli taxpayers their worth. So that keeps us busy, and even more than busy. And part of what we do is being here with you because we consider you part of our mission of making friends and influencing people for Israel. We consider you our allies, and it is important for us that you are informed of both of our agenda and that we share with you our assessment so that you can be more effective in when you talk with other people and you make friends and influence people for Israel. So we count on you. Am I right on counting on you? Yes, you are. I know that. Okay, so let's go to our region and see what's going on. Israel has not that it was really very quiet waters in the past, but in the last couple of years, we saw around us a lot of tectonic movement that actually undermines some of the pillars of our national security in the last generation, actually, since Sadat came to Jerusalem in 1977, and what happened then. our national security laid to a great degree on the knowledge that we have peace treaties with Jordan and with Egypt, and that those frontiers were secured at least from both sides. And that the Syrian frontier, although not a peaceful one, was quiet. The Syrians preferred to carry on their war against us by proxy through Lebanon. The Syrian-Israel frontier at our border ceasefire lines in the Golan Heights were the quietest one ever. I mean, from Egypt we had the occasional infiltration, and we had smuggling, and we have some criminal activity going on there. Now we have another problem, that's the influx of illegal immigration. From Jordan, we had also the Jordanian army and our army trying to prevent infiltration. But from the Syrian frontier, nothing infiltrated, not even a fly, without the Syrians wanting it, and they didn't want. Since the 73 war, since the 74 separation of forces, the UN is there, and nothing moves without. So they carried on the war through Lebanon, through Hezbollah, through their alliance with Iran, not through their territory, and that's why the anti-Syrians in Lebanon would sing Assad, Assad, which in Arabic means lion, lion. Assad, Assad, a lion in Lebanon and a rabbit in Syria. Well, all that is gone now. We don't know what's going to happen on the other side of our Egyptian frontier. The Syrian frontier is not quiet anymore in that sense. We already had a couple of incidents in which we didn't have infiltration of terrorists, but we had a popular march towards Israel-controlled territory. And we wonder if that's going to happen also in the future. But worse than that, the uncertainty regarding what's going on there, it's of course, turns on all these yellow lights, if not red, and force us to plan ahead, considering that maybe what's going to happen in the other side, it's not, there are a number of dangers that implied in the present situation in Syria. On the other hand, the West Bank, one of our main battlegrounds in past years, now is relatively quiet with the cooperation. There is a level of cooperation between Israel and the American Jordan-trained security forces, and we seem to have some common understanding regarding Hamas and other terrorists being a danger also for the Palestinian Authority. So the situation in the West Bank is relatively quiet, and Gaza remaining volatile. That means that we, since 2008, we had a serious reduction in the number of incidents, but from time to time we do have flare-ups. And the one that has been happening in the last week is one example of how unstable the situation can become. I will come back in a second to this, but I will want to complete the national security picture by, of course, mentioning the maybe most serious strategic danger that looms over Israel, and that is Iran. Iran, whether it's in the headlines or it's under the headlines, situation there is not resolved. In the last, the report of the International Agency for Atomic Energy from May 25th it was reported that the Iranians have increased in 50% the rate of their uranium enrichment. So the danger of Iran actually acquiring this nuclear capability is perhaps the most serious danger that Israel is facing. Luckily, in this case, this is not only considered an Israeli problem, it's a worldwide problem, and it has been recognized as such, and we are working very closely with the American administration in jointly trying to help the worldwide efforts to convince the Iranians that to stop their enrichment program. We, of course, are not part of the frontline negotiations. The group of permanent members of the Security Council plus Germany are conducting that. The U.S. is, of course, a leading partner in this group. Israel doesn't deny the importance of negotiations. We are rather pessimistic regarding the results, but of course we support every effort that could lead to Iran turning around and stopping their enrichment. The problem is that we believe, it's not a problem, but in addition to that, we believe that negotiations should be accompanied. As long as the Iranians do not yield, should be accompanied with increasing the effects of international sanctions. We are in quite in agreement in that sense with the American administration, and as you know, in these days, a number of different sanctions are supposed to click on, and especially as the negotiations that took place in Moscow were quite a failure. The Iranians explained in great detail their proposals, and they were all completely unhelpful.
That's a diplomatic word.
Yes, the West is demanding stopping enrichment, exporting the material enriched to 20%, and only then talking about delaying the sanctions. We think that the whole operation in the new installation in Fardu, where they are installing a small number of cascades of centrifuges, which only make sense if you want to prepare to stockpile material for an atomic device, should be dismantled completely. And in the meantime, sanctions should be geared up. We know now that the sanctions are biting more than in the past. I think that a couple of years ago, those who have heard me heard that, well, that is my opinion, that the sanctions were affecting the Iranian economy, but at that point, their effect was lost with other causes of economic troubles for Iran, like mismanagement, etc. Today, the sanctions has forced the Iranian to take severe internal measures, like cutting subsidies, etc., that hurt the Iranian people. We know that the Iranian people are already are becoming aware that it's the leadership fault that all these things are happening. Imports, exports are very hard for the Iranians to carry out. Their marketing of their oil, which is their lifeline, is threatened by the sanctions that are going to take place, will be introduced in these days. So this is hurting. As yet, that hasn't brought the Iranian leadership to the decision to change their policy. And therefore, while allowing for the continuation of negotiations as long as they are useful, we should not stop in gearing up these economic, financial, diplomatic sanctions. We must stress that all the means are still on the table, whether they are economic, whether they are financial, diplomatic, or military. And the Iranians should know that that is a real possibility. Maybe that will eventually bring them to the understanding that it's in their own interest to change their policy. If we're talking of national security in the wider sense, not only the security or the defense related, Israel is now trying to cope with the problem of illegal immigration, which you have seen that has already reached the reporting in the American press. This is a serious problem for a small country like ours, and a country that has our own character. It's an economic problem, it's a social problem. We cannot solve the problems of poverty in Africa, and yet we are a western frontier straight right in the African continent. Africa doesn't have a land frontier with any other western country. In order to reach Italy or Spain, they have to cross the Mediterranean. In order to reach Israel, they only have to cross the Sinai, which is a sort of sea of sand, but still it can be walked. And it had economic refugees from Eritrea and Ethiopia and Somalia and Sudan arriving in Israel in alarming numbers. And Israel as a whole is trying to cope with that in a way that is both effective and will eventually deter further economic immigration, but it's also humane. And the balance is quite delicate, and this is an issue that may come up further down the road in the court of public opinion here in the US too. In addition to that, the Israeli government has been also trying to give solutions to the social agenda that came out, bursted out in Israel as in the US and in other countries last summer with the social movements taking over Rothschild Boulevard. You remember that? All the tent city that sprung out in the heart of Tel Aviv. For obvious reasons, our movement was not called Occupy anything. But we have enough of that. But the issues raised by that movement were understood as posing reflecting a real problem in the direction of Israel's society and economy. We, as you may know, that Israel can pride itself in having conducted a very responsible economic and fiscal policy during the last 20-25 years that changed the face of Israeli economy and post us in a position that allow us to storm the present crisis maybe better than some advanced economies. But all that, like everywhere else, comes at a price. And this movement a year ago was a sort of fire alarm in our houses when you are smoking a cigar or making a steak, and suddenly, at this point it won't bring the firefighters, but it means that you have to take measures to maybe change our policy. Maybe it's time to reconsider the social price of these fiscal policies. So this is also part of Israel's overall national security challenges. I will mention briefly some details of on our situation with our neighbors, and I will open for questions. The Gaza Strip, see, the trouble is not over. As I said, we have periods of relative quiet since Operation Cast Lead, the military cooperation in Gaza at the beginning of 2009. The number of rockets went down drastically, but we still get these reminders that on the other side of the Gaza fence, the rulers there are no members of JCC Men's Club. And actually they hate us, and they would want to destroy us if they could. They can't, so they don't. But the ideological motivation is there. There is an internal strife between Hamas and even more extreme organizations that some of them are managed from by remote control by Iran, and that produce spontaneous flares, not necessarily related to any provocation. Israel, of course, cannot remain, cannot ignore when Israeli citizens are killed or infiltration takes place. The deployment of the anti-missile defense system, the Iron Dome, has given the government of Israel some more flexibility, because it reduces the damage that these rockets can cause. But it's not a palliative, it's a protection for our citizens. It doesn't change the basic situation. That will only find solution the day that Hamas is removed from power there. Since last Monday, Israel was a target of about 150 rockets and mortar shells fired from the Gaza Strip. And we see the problems in dealing with these people when there is a sort of agreement. Nobody recognizes that it's negotiating with anybody, but suddenly there is some sort of agreement and expectation of a ceasefire, and it's continuously violated from the Palestinian side. If it's not Hamas, it's the Islamic Jihad or some other of the other groups that want to have the last word or are avenging the death of some of their militants in an Israeli action a couple of days ago, etc. So we are still not back to normal, and our communities around the Gaza Strip are suffering from that. So that shows us the volatility of the situation in Gaza Strip. If it could escalate into something big. Israel, as you have noticed, is acting with the utmost restraint, while at the same time defending our citizens from attack. The Palestinians are not in the West Bank. The Palestinian Authority is not doesn't look as if they're willing to go back to the negotiating table. Today, in these days, there are quite a fight between Abu Mazen and his prime minister, Salam Fayyad. Anyway, we are expecting in the next season a renewal of a Palestinian diplomatic offensive in an attempt to attain recognition as a state. Probably not through the Security Council, where they failed last year, but straight to the United Nations General Assembly. I may remind you that the General Assembly cannot accept new members to the United Nations, but can recognize a state as an observer state status, like the Holy See, for example, today. So this may be a target, an objective of Palestinian diplomacy in the next few months, and if it is, we will have a renewed diplomatic and public opinion struggle, in which, of course, we will need all the help we can get to get our position through. Egypt. We are awaiting impatiently to see who is going to be the next president of Egypt, as do 80 million Egyptians. If people like everybody with a good heart that expected the development of fledgling democracy in Egypt has a lot of reasons to be quite disappointed, both by the elections of the democratic election of the Egyptian people, and also by the way that the things are being conducted. As you know, the parliamentary elections to the lower house were cancelled by a constitutional court, whose all has been mainly appointed in the time of Mubarak. Now, the results of the presidential elections have been withheld for all these years, for all these days, waiting for resolution supposedly of improprieties in different areas. But I don't think that there is little doubt unless we're there for a big surprise, that it's the Muslim Brotherhood candidate that's going to win the elections, Morsi. His record vis-a-vis his attitude towards a peace treaty with Israel, and it's not very good. He has called in the past for a revision of the treaty. He has called for a lot of things which many Egyptians find unpalatable, to the point in which they prefer, many of them, surprisingly, prefer to vote for one of the dinosaurs of Mubarak's regime, Shafiq, as number 2 candidate, to the dismay of many of the more supposedly liberal candidates like Amro Musa and Baradei and others. So the fact that the Mubarak crony was number 2 candidate in the elections, that was already quite a surprise, and speaks to the fact that the Muslim Brotherhood, since the parliamentary elections, have lost a lot of voters. Many people in Egypt voted for the Brotherhood because they were clean, and now they realize that the package includes, like people in Gaza also realized too late, it includes a lot of other add-ons which may not be so much to their liking. But the Muslim Brotherhood still has a phenomenal apparatus and strong support in many quarters, in rural areas, inside the cities where many of the poor neighborhoods still behave politically as rural areas. So it will be a surprise if Shafiq is appointed the winner, and that will probably bring such a step will raise serious questions regarding the legitimacy of the vote counting. So we expect we will probably have a Muslim Brotherhood president in Egypt. Now the military, as you may know, have taken steps towards this possibility. And first of all, they declare they had this constitutional declaration in which they cut the president's authority, actually, and prolonged their own existence of their Supreme Military Council. So they will going to keep reigns, at least one of the reigns of the Egyptian horse, at least until the new parliament is re-elected again. So, I mean, this whole thing is complicated, but it again raises the questions regarding the future of the government, of stability in a country that is key to us. In the meantime, the Sinai Peninsula is not waiting for the results of the elections, have fallen into anarchy already months ago. Our pipeline, gas pipeline, has been blown up 14 times, and we gave up on trying to import gas from Egypt. So this is a big question mark that wasn't there a couple of years ago. Syria, in a couple of words, it's going to continue for quite a few months. Probably it would be safe, whatever is safe in the Middle East, to say that the Egyptian regime is doomed. The fact that they couldn't quell the opposition, the rebellion, is already an evidence that the days are counted. But you know, arithmetics, you can count forever. So the inscription is on the wall. Everybody can read it, but Assad, after the examples of Ben Ali in Tunisia, Mubarak in Egypt, Gaddafi in Libya, is not giving up. And until the day in which probably sectors inside his own Alawite community decide that he's a liability, he will continue to fight, and this situation can aggravate into a full-fledged civil war. Still, there is no clear territorial division between for and against forces, so outside the intervention, it's hard to I mean, yeah, it's a matter of houses and windows. It's not like in Libya where you have east against west. Things were clearly defined. The allies knew who to shoot. Here it's all mixed up. They all wear the same uniforms, or they don't wear uniforms at all. So it's going to get worse. In the meantime, it means that we will have a greater influx of extremist, non-Syrian Islamist elements, many of them related to Al-Qaeda, coming to meddle and making things worse, and again raising question marks regarding the future of who is going to be on the other side of the fence. I think I will put a full stop here and open the floor for questions, please. Yes, a gentleman.
Thank you for being here and sharing. We're going to have an election soon in this country, and I'm curious what the position of the government is with regard to Obama and possibly the Republican candidate, Romney. Thank you.
You know, I was once told, probably all of you saw the Star Wars series, right? I was once told that Lucas would begin every press conference before receiving any questions, standing up and saying, "Yes, I know that there is no noise in space. Now you can ask questions." And I was wondering if I should do the same thing and saying, "No, I won't be able to answer questions regarding Obama and Romney. Now questions." let me make the point. The strongest asset that Israel has in this country is its the bipartisan support it received from both sides of the aisle, and this is not obvious in these days of. Would it be proper to call it extreme partisanship and polarization? So it's altogether important that we, as representatives of a very friendly but still foreign country, but also our friends in the U.S. keep aside from the mixing Israel with the presidential elections. Both sides are friendly to Israel. This administration has not been less friendlier than others in dealings with us. There are a lot of areas in which America and Israel are working so much together. I mentioned a few before. So I'm sorry, but I won't be able to get into much deeper than that. Yes.
How did Israel react when they leaked the secrets on Stuxnet? You know, saying that that was an Israeli-developed cyber invasion of the Iranian nuclear facility. So are they going to continue to share those secrets as long as they're big leak?
Well, your question was how did Israel react? With interest. It's a free press. People write whatever they want. There's not much that I can add to that. Yes.
Has there been any discussion between Israel and America regarding what will happen regarding Egypt if they choose to walk away from the peace treaty?
Yes.
Egypt chooses.
Yes, I understood the question.
Has there been any discussion that you know of on how the United States will respond, how Israel will respond if such a thing happens?
Yes, I'm not answering because I didn't understand the question. I was thinking if there is something I can say about that. Let's say America and Israel have a relationship such that we discuss a lot about a lot of subjects of common interest. Some of those discussions, by nature of things, have to remain confidential so that the parties will be able to speak frankly and exchange assessments and intelligence. I'm speaking in general terms on these issues. About some of those dialogues, the details are known. Some other dialogues, the mere existence of which may damage their respective positions vis-a-vis some other countries, those remain under wraps. Yes, sir.
You mentioned about illegal immigration. If I were an Islamic individual living in Africa, why would I be running to Israel and not in an Islamic country?
Well, you know the reason. Israel has a product per capita of about $30,000. In Africa, you have in the single thousands per year per capita. I guess if they could get to Saudi Arabia easily, they would. But they have to cross through Israel and Jordan together. So, and maybe the Saudis will not be so kind to them either. You have to understand that until recently, until now actually, illegal immigrants could get to Israel with total impunity. Once they survived the ordeal of crossing Sinai, where they were subject to attacks, death, torture, kidnapping, extortion, rape, etc. Once they reached Israel, they would wave to the patrols that will arrest them process them, then take them to Tel Aviv and leave them there. We're going to change that, but in a way that, they won't be able, hopefully, to write home and tell everybody, come. It's a real problem. Yes, the gentleman on the back.
There have been press reports.
Sorry?
There have been press reports that Israel is exploring a unilateral peace settlement, foregoing the negotiation strategy. Is that a serious consideration, or is that simply for public relations?
I don't know if it's public relations, but for example, there are plenty of ideas. Israelis are worried about the situation. Many think that status quo is great. Many other things that status quo is not good, and we worry. We want peace. We want to find solutions. So ideas come up. For example, the new member of the governmental coalition, Kadima, is led by Shaul Mofaz, former chief of staff and minister of defense. He's on the record with having ideas regarding partial agreement with the Palestinians, etc. These are still not governmental policies, but he is free to rise the ideas and put it on the table of public opinion. I maybe share that with some of our international friends. So it's still not a governmental policy, but still it's not governmental policy. Yes?
We've heard many years ago that the Iranian public does not like the leadership. Is there any chance that Iran can have an Arab Spring type of situation, particularly with these sanctions coming in?
Well, Iran had a Persian Spring a couple of years ago. Before it seems to be Iran is in sort of premonitory mode for the Arab world since the Iranian Revolution. And it was quashed. It was crushed. And some of the techniques that allow the Iranian regime to crush the calls for openness and democratization are being applied now in Syria by the Iranian advisors to Assad. But I think as a consequence of that failure, the Iranian public is, or the relatively liberal Iranian public is disheartened, and it's not willing to risk itself anymore. That means that I don't think that severe uprisal or change of regime is forthcoming in Iran. There are going to be, there are elections from time to time, but the rules of the game as such that it's still very interesting, and you still have a lot of power struggles, but that's between the conservatives, the ultra-conservatives, and the super-conservatives. Yes?
What do you think the most effective sanctions we can take against Iran because of your program?
Well, the most effective sanctions will regard the marketing of their oil. If we can get Singapore and Iran and India and other countries that buy their oil, China, to stop buying them, that would be the most effective thing. In the meantime, the sanctions regarding the cutting off the Iran's central bank are going to be quite devastating to what remains of their foreign trade capabilities. And they're afraid of that, and that's why they went to all these, Istanbul and Moscow, etc. But apparently it's not hurting enough to get them to change their policy as yet. Yes?
Yes, is Hamas ready to recognize Israel?
Sorry, who?
Hamas.
Hamas. No.
And you can't have a peace treaty unless they agree.
Hamas has softened their attitude, taking the example from the history of the prophet, that in a moment in which the balance of forces was against him, he reached a truce with his Mecca foes for 10 years. So they think that they can reach an agreement without recognition for a truce with Israel for 10 years, etc., under certain conditions. If Israel returns off the territory, accepts all the Palestinian refugees, gives back the Arabs Jerusalem, then they would agree for a 10-year truce. Of course, the end of the story is that after 2 or 3 years, the prophet reached a conclusion that balance of forces again favors him, and he broke that truce. He fought the Meccans and he won. He conquered Mecca. So this is a perspective that Israel, of course, looks at as completely inadequate.
Just 2 more questions, please.
Yes.
Can you talk about the government's strategy for handling settler outposts on the
For what?
Settler outposts, the ultra-Orthodox that are trying to go outside of what the tradition of the Jewish areas on the West Bank, dealing with the, trying to either move them or, to what extent is the government going to go and give us a sense of the back and forth there?
Well, as you know, it's a very controversial subject. Israeli policy is not to build new settlements, and it's not to build outside the settlement blocks that in any future peace treaty with the Palestinians will remain under Israeli control. Now, there are, as you are well aware, there are other opinions in Israeli public, and some of these groups are very active in setting up facts in the ground. And the Israeli government is trying to cope with that situation to the best of its limited abilities, trying to, on one side, express its basic support to the settlement within those parameters, and on the other hand, the respect of the law. So between these two factors, a lot of Israeli politics go to and fro. Yes?
Different type of question. Tourism, which is pretty much a good economic boost for Israel. Are you finding that the numbers of tourists are dropping?
No, numbers of tourists are going up, and that's a good opening to my final remarks. And this, to this group of concerned Jewish allies, we have been talking about our challenges, right? But we have ignored in this whole morning the fact that Israel is doing quite fine, and economically and socially, and life goes on maybe with an even more vitality than ever before.
Yeah, we don't hear about that.
Yeah, well, we are actually, in general, our strategy now is to speak less about these issues that we have talked about now, for which I think people like you should be very well informed, but trying to bring out all these aspects of Israel people don't hear about. Israeli culture and Israeli research at universities, and students coming So as a reflection of that, tourism is up. But let me tell you something else. Jewish tourism is not very up from the United States. And I think I don't think it's proper that the number of Christians have been going up and the number of Jews visiting Israel has not. I think our brothers and sisters should visit Israel more than our Christian friends. And we've had an upsurge of tourism from new places that in the past didn't visit Israel, Eastern Europe, Asia, etc. But I think those of you who have been in Israel only many years ago, I'm not even talking about those who have never been in Israel, should take a fresh look at what's going on there and bring along your sons and even more importantly your grandsons and daughters. I know that many of you are doing that.
Next year, Jerusalem.
Oh, great! Fantastic. That I think is the most important. That's the most important thing you could do to help Israel. Bring your sons and grandchildren, children and grandchildren, for them to know Israel. I know that my decision to make Aliyah when I finished high school was very much influenced by my grandparents taking me to Israel when I was, I think, 14 or 15 years old. So I think this is our Jewish duty. And and with this happy note, I want to thank you all for your attention. I hope it was useful for you. Thank you.
We'd like to present the ambassador, Daniel Kutner, with our certificate of appreciation and a 1 year's membership to our organization without charge. Thank you.
Without charge.
Without charge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. We will have the 50-50. Who has the 50-50?
The winning share is $59. And it could be a friend of
And in shekels, that's a lot more. Could you pick out one?
And the winner is 839.
The last three digits.
839. Oh, Sansan. I can assure you it was a blind.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you so much.
The results of the election just came out.
And who is the winner?
Morsi.
Yeah, well, no, so I don't have to go to the microphone and explain.
Is that bad or good?
There's one quickie thing, and after the ambassador's presentation, I don't want it to seem an afterthought, but our new member who just joined has arrived here, and it's Rick Saphire. If you remember the magician who was here last month, yeah, Rick has joined our group, so Rick, thank you very much. You have a word to say?
Charles, how you doing? Got his application?
Okay, hi folks. I'm only going to take about 3 minutes of your time, but I just want to make a... I'm talking as quiet as I can. Just about 3 minutes of your time. I have an event in Cherry Hill that I'd like to tell you about, and I'm hoping that you can join us. By the way, Mr. Ambassador, that was fascinating and a wonderful discussion. You are very eloquent, and you have a lot of class, and that's great. I'm not so eloquent. I found out why they don't circumcise Iranians, because there's no end to those schmucks. So, anyway. The ambassador didn't want to say that because he's a classy guy, but he could park wherever he wants, so that's a good thing. Anyway, there's a young lady who I've been representing, as I probably, by the way, I have to apologize. When I was here several weeks ago, I had a terrible sore throat, and that's why I was only able to do about 90 minutes for you. So I apologize for that. There's a young lady that I've been representing for many years now, and I guess I mentioned that I have been representing celebrities. Her name is Beverly Washburn, and you won't know her name, but you know who she is. If you've ever gone to a movie theater or turned on a television. I've always had trouble with zippers. Have you ever noticed? There we go. Beverly Washburn is an actress who has appeared on more than 500 television programs. Some of the motion pictures that she was in were The Greatest Show on Earth, which was the Academy Award winner, of course. She was in Shane. She was in a wonderful movie with Bing Crosby and Jane Wyman, Here Comes the Groom. Her list of, she was in the very first Superman movie that hit the movie theaters in the early 1950s. As far as television is concerned, more than 500 TV shows, including On the Air with Jack Benny and Loretta Young, and so on and so forth. She has worked with every star in show business. And she made one motion picture that you may be interested in hearing about, and it was a very important movie. It was the first motion picture ever to address the Holocaust. It was also the first motion picture ever to be filmed in what they called the new state of Israel. And the movie was called, I've got a little lobby card reproduction here, it was called The Juggler with Kirk Douglas. That's right, sir. Beverly played a very important role in the movie because she befriended Kirk Douglas. They were both prisoners and now in Israel to start their new life. Beverly is going to be appearing at the Magic Shop in our theater. We have a lovely little theater. She's going to be appearing there to do a 90-minute multimedia talk and seminar. We're going to be showing many of her wonderful film clips, the great TV shows that she did, the Western and so many of the other programs. She'll be answering questions, and somebody will even get to play a scene with her from the great Walt Disney movie she did, which was Old Yeller, and we're going to have a lot of fun that way. The tickets for this program are $15, and for any members here, if you'd like to attend, it's going to be a lot of fun and very interesting, certainly. I'm discounting the tickets of $5, so it's $10 for a ticket. The date is July 21st, Saturday in the evening at 8:30, and we're opening the doors early, and we're going to be screening some of her films. I have some little cards that, in case you'd like to take one as a reminder. That's it. My time is up. I couldn't do 90 minutes this time. I thank you very much, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thank you.
Sorry?
Send out an email about that.
Okay, we can send out an email about that, Rick. Okay, thank you all very, very much for coming. We're out of here. We hope you learned something. Danny, thank you very, very much. Excellent job. You really do a great job. We thank you very, very much.
Dave.
Bye-bye.
Very good. We'll get our picture.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It was so interesting. It was wonderful.
Dave, how you doing?